The second possibility is that Greg is telling the truth, and a bunch of humans really did get their skeletal system rearranged by a few homo gems. And if that's the case, why didn't humanity retaliate against them? We've gone to war for much less. I don't buy it. During the Season 1 penultimate episode titled The Return, we're introduced to the single biggest plot hole in Steven Universe's history, involving the Gem War through Greg of all characters. I'm talking about humanity's lack of involvement in gem affairs.
Like aliens, Steven! Aliens who invaded Earth!
Greg said it himself, the gems are aliens who invaded Earth, so why don't we see any human interactions with them? Fighting back if they're against them, or providing backup if they support them. Humanity is not exactly defenseless. Magic or not, I'm pretty sure the right bullet would take out any space rock. I have 3 theories as to what's going on here, but let's dial it back and lay out all of the evidence first.
It's joy! I'm reporting this!
Peridot, after learning that the crystal gems exist, makes her way to Earth and the crystal gems in an effort to keep Steven safe, sends him away with the other citizens of Bit City. Greg tries to comfort Steven on their way out of town, and everything he says during this scene is just wrong. But it does eventually lead us into something massive that I haven't heard too many people talking about, so let's go through it. Greg first makes the point that the homo gems don't really care about the Earth like the crystal gems do, which is something that we could have concluded.
They're not like garnet, amethyst, or pearl.
It makes you wonder why Pearl acted so surprised at the fact that Peridot wanted to reactivate the kindergarten despite it being harmful to the Earth.
Doesn't she know it'll destroy all life on Earth?
Yes! They're not gonna start caring about people now.
As if they didn't just fight a war to keep the Earth safe from said homo gems, but I digress. The next thing Greg says has the implication that Greg was somehow there during the Great Gem War.
It's not like I was there.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And I know it's just a case of bad wording most likely, so let's just move past it. The important thing is we learned from Greg that gems took out an undisclosed number of humans during the war.
Gems were destroyed. People too.
Which brings us to our first crossroads. What Greg says here has 2 possible meanings. Either Greg means that a group of humans took part in the war and fought alongside the gems, or gems went out there and hunted humans for fun. It doesn't matter which one is right though, because if humans were directly affected by the war, why didn't they continue to fight back against the gems? You could say that the homo gems left Earth after the war and the crystal gems went into hiding, so what could they have done? But I'd say that humanity could have quarantined these endless amounts of gem structures all over the Earth. Why didn't humanity step in when Peridot sent the Red Eye to Earth, or came back to Earth in a giant handship? Why didn't the bus driver in Fusion Cuisine report a giant woman stopping the bus? And most importantly, why hasn't humanity seized the moon base? We don't see any humans taking part in the Gem War during any of the dozens of flashbacks that we've seen of the Gem War, so...
Where are they? I don't see them!
That means that civilian humans were knocked off by these homo gems. And if that's the case, my next question would be, why did humanity respond by going silent and ignoring all of the chaos being spread globally by these aliens? That brings us to my 3 theories that could possibly explain what's going down with the government in Steven Universe, and we're going to go through them through Greg's perspective. The first possibility is that Greg is lying to Steven in the Return, and no humans were actually hurt by the gems during the war, or ever.
I need to find out if he's lying.
He's lying.
He could have been lying to add an extra level of seriousness to the situation, in order to keep Steven away from the gems. But when listening to his tone, I doubt that he's actually lying here. The second possibility is that Greg is telling the truth, and a bunch of humans really did get their skeletal system rearranged by a few homo gems. And if that's the case, why didn't humanity retaliate against them? We've gone to war for much less. I don't buy it. The third possibility is that Rebecca Sugar and the Croniverse really did plan to explain the human gem dynamics at one point or the other, but we ran out of time, or it could have been a dropped idea, but we don't really have any evidence of this in either series or a movie, so it's unlikely. Did you guys notice how none of these 3 theories really help explain any of my other issues with a lack of human intervention on the show? If you guys have any theories of your own, I'd love to read it in the comment section. What if I told you that this place was built for Steven by gems from the future, in order for him to get the confidence boost that he needed to start taking his journey seriously? I just solved 2 of the biggest mysteries in Steven Universe, which we once thought were 2 of the show's biggest plot holes. Time traveling gems are a thing on Steven Universe, and for the longest while since I started making Steven Universe videos, I've been trying to stealthily ignore that fact. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of time travel being introduced into magical worlds unless it's fully explored, and time travel was only a one-episode gimmick for Steven Universe, or so we thought. I've uncovered some pretty huge stuff here that I guarantee is going to blow your mind. In the season 1 episode titled Serious Steven, we are introduced to one of the plot holes in question, that being this pyramid. That's because there are ancient drawings inside of this place, drawings that break the show in so many ways. Fans for years have tried to place what it all means. If this pyramid is trying to portray events that happened already in the past, why was it built using the Era 3 Diamond Authority insignia? And if this place is trying to portray events that hasn't happened yet, which would explain this Era 3 Diamond Authority insignia, who predicted all of these events with such accuracy? Sapphires can't predict the definite future, a topic we've gone over in my previous video, but if they didn't have anything to do with this place, who did? This becomes even more of a mystery when you factor in the Crystal Gems' reactions to this place. They didn't seem surprised seeing rose quartz plastered all over the wall here, and they weren't surprised by any of the crazily accurate events being showcased on the walls either, which confused the fandom for years on end. It would have been one thing if the Crewniverse never referenced this place or this episode ever again, but they did the exact opposite. We have endless amounts of Easter eggs and references to this one episode, which means that all of this is important and vital to the story of Steven Universe. What if I told you that this place was built for Steven by gems from the future, in order for him to get the confidence boost that he needed to start taking his journey seriously? Let me explain. Did you guys notice how the pyramid in Serious Steven works almost identically to the gems testing ground for him in the episode The Test? Even the episode itself uses a storytelling technique that the Crewniverse rarely used in the show overall, and I'm talking about jumping forward in time. The episode starts with Steven waking up at Funland, 2 weeks prior to the events that actually takes place in the pyramid. The gems also let Steven know just how important this mission is, almost like this mission was designed specifically for him. We also have to take into account the fact that Garnet had the key for this place to begin with, yet she seemingly didn't know anything about its existence. I think that all of the Crystal Gems in this moment knew exactly what they were doing, but just wanted to give Steven a chance. We learn in the episode Steven and the Stevens that Homeward was working on developing time traveling equipment, and they succeeded. Steven utilizes one of their inventions called the Glass of Time and actually travels through time in the episode in order for him to get his way, before he abruptly dies near the end, which means that the Steven we follow post Steven and the Stevens isn't technically the original Steven. But that's a whole other kind of worms that isn't really relevant to this video, so we're just going to move past it for now. I've been jumping around during this video a lot, so let's recap everything and let me explain my time travel theory clearly. The pyramid in Serious Steven was built for Steven by Homo gems from the future in order for him to tackle what the Crystal Gems themselves described as being his first serious mission. That's why it's filled with Easter eggs from both Steven's past and his future, and that's why the Crystal Gems were comfortable with him tackling this dangerous mission despite his recent failures.
I wanted to tell you for so long.
Garnet was always a stoic and super chill character who always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. We would later learn that this was because Garnet possessed future vision, an ability that allowed her to glimpse into the most likely possibilities and outcomes of any given scenario. Time is like a river. Future vision works like an unreliable map that assists Garnet and guides her during her journey. This is the explanation of future vision that many of us in the Steven Universe fandom would have agreed to be the most accurate, but this explanation of how future vision works has always bothered me for multiple reasons. The truth is, time has always been linear on Steven Universe. It doesn't work at all using the river analogy that Garnet always seems to burst out whenever she needs to act surprised during an upcoming twist. I've always been intrigued by time, space, and decoding the secrets of our universe. But since I'm just a guy theorizing on YouTube, I'm going to be decoding the secrets of how time really works on one of the cartoons that defined my entire childhood instead. Sapphire, Pat Paracha Sapphire, and even Garnet herself heavily suggest that time in Steven Universe has always been set in stone, and I'm going to prove it. But first, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot. Thank you. At the beginning of the season 1 episode titled Future Vision, Garnet saves Steven from falling down the stairs and then reveals to him that she had an ability called Future Vision. I mean, Future Vision didn't even make complete sense in the episode introducing the ability. Garnet explains that she's able to see possible outcomes to most scenarios and proves this by correctly predicting events throughout the episode and saving Steven again, but this time from getting 3rd-degree burns from Laz, surprisingly by accident. In the season 5 episode titled Pole Hopping, the writers made sure to let the audience know that Garnet's Future Vision was getting nerfed, as if it ever worked as advertised to begin with. But basically, Garnet explains to Steven that it's been getting really hard for her to exist and continue predicting events in their timeline. The episode is set after Steven surrenders himself to Homeworld but before the bigger squat reveal, and it plays out as you'd expect. An episode to make sure that nobody asks the most obvious question of why Garnet couldn't see this outcome coming. Garnet has literally been surprised by every single major event on the series. Some fans believe that Garnet needs to be actively focusing on Future Vision in order for it to work, but if that was the case, then why didn't she see Peridot coming? Steven was panicking out of his mind during the season 1 episode titled Warp Tour, insisting that he saw something outside of a warp stream, and Garnet never even attempted to look into the situation using her Future Vision. Garnet never learned her lesson after that debacle either. She still made the same mistakes over and over again, but maybe Sapphire's Future Vision simply isn't at its full power while being fused inside of Garnet. Sapphires were aristocratic gems in Homeworld society, meaning that they were incredibly rare gems who wielded incredibly valuable powers. Something weird right off the bat that you notice is that whenever Sapphire is separated from Garnet, Future Vision is basically her entire personality. During the season 2 episode titled The Answer, Garnet says that Blue Diamond was relieved after her meeting with Sapphire, which is hilarious considering what happened seconds later during that day, but I digress. This entire scene didn't help to clear up the confusion about the true nature of Future Vision, especially when you consider that Sapphire was confident that she knew everything that was going to happen during that day up until the moment she fused with Ruby. Basically, we were supposed to interpret this moment as being so unpredictable that not even Sapphire could have seen it coming. A moment that changed her life forever, and that's great. I love Ruby and Sapphire, but you know, it doesn't look any better on Sapphire's long record of flat-out wrong predictions. Interestingly enough, Sapphire does make a string of correct predictions when she splits up with Ruby during the season 2 episode titled Keystone Motel. In fact, basically all of Sapphire's predictions during this episode were basically right, even the one that we played for laughs when she was angry in the motel. Sapphire does make one massive mistake in this episode though, and that's name dropping a word that she should not be trying to associate with her character, and that word is fate. Fate goes against everything that Future Vision claims to stand for, right? One of the off-color gems we were introduced to on Homeworld during Steven and Laz's big escape was an off-colored sapphire named Padparacha Sapphire. Padparacha Sapphire's Future Vision was technically more accurate than our Sapphire's Future Vision. She hasn't ever made a wrong prediction on the show, and once in a while her predictions actually come in handy. How does Padparacha's Future Vision work exactly? I mean, she seems physically unable to process current thoughts and memories, speaking strictly in the past, albeit a couple of seconds in the past. Padparacha Sapphire has a delayed Future Vision, but that doesn't explain why her predictions are correct 100% of the time. It's almost as if something more bizarre is going on here. It's almost as if Padparacha Sapphire is literally stuck in the past. I mean, it's about time that we tackle the hard question head on. How does time actually work on Steven Universe? In the season 1 episode titled Steven and the Stevens, our boy Steven stumbles upon the Hourglass, a Homeworld artifact with the ability to take the wielder anywhere across the past, present and future. Something that is confirmed by Padparacha Sapphire's delayed predictions being correct 100% of the time. Garnet and Sapphire's Future Vision seems to be the only thing that goes against this theory, and I think I have an answer for why that is as well, which we'll discuss in a moment. Steven uses the Hourglass to travel a couple of days into the future by accident. Remember when Steven freed Lapish from the mirror and she proceeded to steal Earth's entire ocean? Our boy Steven teleported himself into the middle of a completely drained ocean, which is an event that will happen days later, and that's insane when you really think about it. If time really worked like a river like Garnet explains, then this episode shouldn't have been possible along with Padparacha Sapphire's entire existence. That honestly doesn't leave us in a great place. Why does Garnet seem so sure that time works like a river instead of a clearly straight path that it appears to be? I'm definitely not implying that Garnet is lying or anything, so how does her mindset fit into the reality of her universe? Something big that we definitely have to take a closer look at before we can properly answer that question has to be the way that Garnet temporarily transfers her future vision onto other people like Steven. Garnet has transferred her future vision to Steven twice on the show, and both times support the theory that their world works on a linear timeline. When Garnet reforms during the season 1 finale, she kisses Steven's forehead, which temporarily gave him access to her future vision. The kiss lasted for less than 2 seconds, yet it accurately revealed the locations of both Amethyst and Pearl to Steven. The kiss didn't show Steven any weird scenarios where Pearl and Amethyst got ejected into space, it just revealed the future, straight up. The second time that Garnet transferred the power of future vision onto Steven occurred earlier during season 1, when Steven wanted Corny to sleep over at his house in Beach City during a heavy snowstorm. Garnet of course sneakily passes her future vision onto Steven in order for him to experience firsthand what would happen if he didn't listen to her advice. Instead of showing Steven possible paths, the ability gave him the chance to live out different scenarios inside of his head in a split second, which worked great as an episode but brought up even more annoying questions about Garnet's future vision. Everything time related on Steven Universe is screaming that destiny is real. It's screaming that the show follows one linear timeline, except for Garnet. Garnet has actually admitted to Steven plenty of times that she doesn't actually know how her own powers work. But what if that was more literal? During the season 5 episode titled Your Mother and Mine, Garnet spent an entire episode explaining how the gem war went down, but we'd later learn of course that everything Garnet said during this episode was wrong. What if Garnet literally doesn't understand how future vision works as well? Similarly to how Homo tricked Era 2 Paradox into believing that they were made without any powers, what if they also filled the heads of their own sapphires with lies, telling them and insisting that they could only see possibilities and not the definite future, and they just believed it? Homeworld has always had a reputation of doing whatever it took to keep their gems in line. They wouldn't want rogue sapphires to know about their full potential if they ever rebelled. Are gems artificial intelligence or magical beings on Steven Universe?
Magic. Technology!
We learned from Pearl in the season 2 episode titled Keeping It Together that gems are grown by the diamonds on planets that have organic life. That's because the machines that Homeworld uses to make gems need various types of materials in order for them to make different types of gems. For example, we learned from Peridot that in order for Homeworld to grow other Peridots, they need to venture deeper inside of a planet to get the materials needed to do so.
Lava is what comes out of volcanoes. That's superheated peridotite.
We actually got the chance to see what would have happened to the Earth if Homeworld completed their plans. It makes sense that gem soldiers are usually made first on a planet because they only require harnessing the energy from that planet's surface, and rarer gems get their status because they require energy that can only be found much deeper inside of a planet. While rarer gems seem to have additional unique abilities, there are certain abilities that are consistent across all gems, like the flashlight function, item storage, item summoning, weapon summoning, and fusion. Amethyst explains in the short titled How Are Gems Made that what we know as a gemstone has the same properties of a rock, which makes sense because all gems can also be cracked and shattered. Two of the biggest pieces of evidence that leans us in the direction of gems being advanced technology instead of magical beings are the concepts of gem rejuvenation and poofing. Gem rejuvenation resets a gem into their primary form, wiping out all memories or data. Secondly, when a gem is poofed, they cycle through all of their previous forms before deciding on their updated form. Both of these features make the argument of gems being advanced technology designed by a higher power very convincing. But there is also one piece of evidence that leans us in the completely opposite direction of gems being unexplainable magical beings, and that's the concept of gem harvesting. That's because gem harvesting is the practice of using a gemstone as a power source against their will, which means that gems can produce unlimited amounts of energy without needing to recharge themselves. In order for us to get a concrete answer of whether gems are more artificial intelligence or magical beings, we need to look into the secret origins of the Diamond Authority themselves. We get a lot of clues and hints to the true origins of the gems in the season 5 episode titled Familiar, when Steven cycles through a number of pictures on Pink Diamond's personal communications device. In the beginning, there was only white diamond, yellow diamond, and blue diamond. Based on everything that we've been shown, it seems like Pink Diamond was literally the newest diamond. White Diamond was at the head of Homeworld and decided on the rules of a society. Yellow Diamond was in charge of the armies of Homeworld along with all of their tactical weaponry. Blue Diamond was entrusted with the task of designing and maintaining Homeworld structures. And last but certainly not least, I believe that Pink Diamond was in charge of gem production on Homeworld. We've been told by White Diamond that Yellow, Blue and herself were alone before we had Pink Diamond, and I don't think that she meant this metaphorically. As we've gone over before, some gems have certain abilities that are only unique to them, even for diamonds, and Pink Diamond had the ability to create life. We know that she created the pebbles on Homeworld a long time ago before Steven also created one of his own by accident. What if the gem injectors on Earth weren't simply color-coded pink to symbolize the planet being owned by Pink Diamond? What if it was color-coded pink because Pink Diamond was the one responsible for creating gems on all planets? The other gem buildings on Earth are color-coded correctly for the specific diamond who would have been in charge of getting the structures up and running. The Lunar Sea Spire and Galaxy Warp are color-coded correctly for Blue Diamond, for example. This is unfortunately as deep as the series gets as far as lore explaining the origin of gems. And considering this, I'm definitely thinking that gems are more magical beings than they are artificial intelligence. While most aspects of a gem's existence can be explained away using the AI theory, some of it just can't, like the fact that a gem has unlimited energy no matter where they are in the universe. We followed Steven throughout his journey and I've seen him mastering all of Pink Diamond's unique powers and abilities. From defensive abilities like floating, healing tears, and shield summoning, to offensive abilities like plant manipulation, super speed, and a terrifying sonic scream. Pink Diamond may have also had the disturbing ability to force other gems into obeying her every command. Today, I want to explore the true nature of this ability and the possibility of Steven utilizing it for himself by accident and on purpose. But first, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to subscribe, it would help me out a lot, thank you. There are countless scenes in the original series where Pearl covers her mouth, unable to speak her mind during crucial moments in the show. In the season 1 episode Mirror Gem, when Steven revealed to the crystal gems that the mirror was talking to him. In another important season 1 episode titled Rose's Cupboard, when Pearl felt threatened at the possibility of Rose keeping secrets from her. In the season 2 episode It Could Have Been Great, when Peridot reveals the completed plans that Homeworld had for the Earth. In the season 3 episode Back to the Moon, when Eyeball was accusing Rose Quartz of shattering Pink Diamond in front of Pearl. In the season 4 episode Steven's Dream, when Steven realized that the crystal gems were still keeping secrets from him and decided to pressure Pearl for answers. In the season 5 episode Gemcation, where Steven continued his desperate search for the truth. And finally, in another season 5 episode A Single Pale Rose, which was definitely one of the most important episodes in the series. The episode where we learned that Pink Diamond was directly responsible for Pearl silencing herself.
No one can ever find out we did this.
A few moments later.
Let's never speak of this again.
We have to consider every possible angle when we look at the Pink Diamond and Pearl scene in A Single Pale Rose. On one hand, Pearl could have been forced into not speaking about Pink Diamond because of a secret ability that we were never explicitly shown, but on the other hand, Pearls in general could be programmed into listening to their owner's command without the possibility of defiance. If we're going with a second headcanon, then that would recontextualize this scene in Now We're Only Falling Apart as the exact moment where Rose Quartz forced Pearl into staying infatuated with her, without the possibility of her ever moving on.
I imagined that I ran away and met you here on Earth.
A few moments later.
Tell me to stop.
Please don't ever stop.
Disgusting!
We know for a fact that Pearl does eventually end up moving on from Rose Quartz, so that proves that she wasn't just following her diamond's orders because of some kind of programming, because programming wouldn't wear off. The big question is, did Steven ever unlock Pink Diamond's ability to mind control gems, and if so, did he ever use this insanely overpowered ability on the show? To determine this, let's take a look at a couple of instances of Steven talking people down into listening to him, with the idea of Steven already having his mother's mind controlling ability fully unlocked. Thankfully, as I'm sure you all could have guessed, there are no shortage of scenes that fit this mode, since literally 95% of antagonists on the show had their minds changed by Steven. But I'm only interested in analyzing two of the most compelling scenes. I'm going to be working this theory in reverse in order for us to see it in practice. Basically, we're going to be taking a look at two scenes that heavily go against the possibility of Steven having mind controlling abilities. Let's first take a look at Bluebird Azurite, the fusion between Aquamarine and Eyeball. Bluebird Azurite is the only on-screen antagonist on the show that never forgives Steven and change their ways. This also goes down after Steven and the crystal gems make peace with the diamonds. Bluebird Azurite exists to prove to the audience that while everyone is capable of positive change, they don't always choose to. Steven tries his best to talk Bluebird into changing their ways at multiple points throughout their debut, but of course they choose not to and retreat into space, promising to always be against Steven and his cause. We also have to take a look at Jasper, a gem who Steven repeatedly tried to convince to that he wasn't rose quartz, but she held onto that belief up until the final episode of the series, where she finally saw Steven for who he truly was. Jasper and Bluebird Azurite prove that Steven definitely did not have mind-controlling abilities. Every other moment in the series that supports this theory seemed purely coincidental to me. I wish I could have gone along with the narrative of Steven having those kind of abilities for this video, but I can't because of these two glaring pieces of evidence that go against it. Do you guys ever get that creepy feeling like you're being watched? Like something isn't quite right?
We just want to talk. Blue Diamond.
One of the many reasons why I fell in love with Steven Universe was because of the sheer amount of attention to detail and care that the Crewniverse poured into the show. There's a ton of interesting details and Easter eggs hidden away within every nook and cranny if you look deep enough. But every once in a while, you stumble upon a bizarre string of Easter eggs and gags that all seem to connect seamlessly, sending you down the dark path of conjuring up conspiracy theories. Now, to be fully transparent, I've already made my fair share of conspiracy theory videos focused on Steven Universe, but believe me when I tell you that this one is different. This theory is something that I've always had brewing in the back of my mind since season 1. The kind of theory that genuinely kept me up at night back when I was a kid. But there's so much compelling evidence supporting it that I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't accidentally convert some of you into closeted conspiracy theorists like myself. Today, we're going to be uncovering the shocking identity behind the founder of Cookie Cat, along with revealing their motives behind creating the product in the first place. Cookie Cat, being Steven's favorite ice cream sandwich brand, was introduced since episode 1 of the original series, and became the underappreciated catalyst behind Steven's abilities. Outside of a genuinely wholesome introduction of Cookie Cat, the product itself has always had a weirdly mysterious vibe around it. For starters, it's already been well documented that the lyrics of the song itself was basically a simplified version of Pink Diamond's backstory. The song directly references an interstellar war as being the cause for Cookie Cat leaving his family behind. Yeah.
It's a little obvious.
When we take a look at the design of the Cookie Cat character himself, the connection becomes even more clear. Half of Cookie Cat is color-coded pink for its strawberry flavor, while the other half is color-coded white for its vanilla flavor. The Diamond Authority insignia for Era 1 showcases White Diamond as being the direct opposite to Pink Diamond. Everything about Cookie Cat just screams a greater cosmic significance, but before we can even attempt to identify its creator and their mysterious motives, we need to talk about the Cookie Cat franchise's other food items and products. In addition to selling ice cream sandwiches, the Cookie Cat franchise has also produced tubs of ice cream, alarm clocks, birthday cakes, and toy walkie-talkies. Based on these limited items, we can safely conclude that Cookie Cat was a brand that was marketed towards children. A once popular and thriving brand that was forced to shut down production on their signature product. That doesn't just happen. We'll return to these important pieces of evidence later. Right now, it's about time that we discuss the bizarre trail of unresolved Cat plot points. Cat Steven was introduced during the final season of Steven Universe, and she basically drove every Steven Universe series at the time crazy with a single episode. And in order for us to move forward with our Cookie Cat investigation, it's crucial that we break down how she was able to pull it off. Pool Hopping being the episode in question focused around Garnet desperately trying to distract herself from a feeling of powerlessness. Around this time, Garnet was dealing with the reality of her situation and the fact that her future vision predictions were getting less and less accurate. In an effort to take back some control over her life, Garnet decided to be random for a day and go with the flow, which led her to following a cute kitten through the woods with Steven. This trail eventually led Garnet and Steven to her home and her family of other cute kittens. Of course, Steven and Garnet would adopt a kitten after Garnet explicitly mentions that there was something different about one of them, which definitely stood out, but then it got even weirder. Garnet decided to name the kitten, who she just called out as being significant, Cat Steven. The Crewniverse really decided to have Garnet name the kitten with a lost eye Cat Steven. Naturally, Steven Universe theory started to theorize about the possibility of our boy Steven losing an eye. But as far as we know, it never happened. Alright, so if Cat Steven wasn't introduced to hint at Steven losing an eye, why was she really introduced? And what did Garnet see in Cat Steven's future that piqued her interest? Don't worry, I'm not hinting at Cat Steven being the founder of Cookie Cat. Honestly, that would be more tame compared to where this theory is actually going. Cat Steven's greater significance in this theory can be traced back to Steven's parents, Greg Universe and Rose Quartz.
But you're supposed to change.
Greg and Rose fell in love with each other and after living together for a few years decided to have a baby. Once Steven was born, however, Greg fell into a state of depression. He was so depressed that he stopped cleaning himself, his van and his garage. Greg's garage is unironically one of the most intriguing locations in Steven Universe. The sheer amount of Easter eggs that the Cronivers and Rebecca Sugar chose to sneakily cram inside of Greg's garage makes going through some of those scenes specifically feel like you're treasure hunting. This poster titled Invasion Mutant hints at the true origin of the gems. These three heads hint at the arrival and eventual redemption arcs of Lapis Lazuli, Peridot, and Jasper Benson. Here's the thing though, even though this is definitely Greg's garage, Greg himself has admitted plenty of times that he isn't completely sure what Rose Quartz chose to place inside of his garage. Rose Quartz chose to store some of her personal items inside of Greg's garage. Among those items were one of her dangerous laser light cannons. This is particularly interesting because Greg has confirmed in the past that Rose Quartz and the Crystal Gems did everything in their power to ensure that Greg wouldn't come in contact with any dangerous gem-related activity. But at the same time, Rose Quartz is casually storing one of her dangerous gem-related weapons inside of Greg's personal garage of all places. We can't even argue that she left this here for Greg, because he not only had no idea what a laser light cannon looked like, he also had no idea that Rose Quartz decided to keep one inside of his garage in the first place. We also can't argue that Rose Quartz kept this laser light cannon here as a last resort for the Crystal Gems, because none of the Crystal Gems knew that Greg had access to one of them. Rose Quartz already knew that Pearl had access to 3 other laser light cannons as well, because Pearl knew about Rose Quartz's secret armory.
A pack of laser light cannons!
The Core Design Trio!
Speaking about Rose Quartz's secret armory, because of locations like the expansive dimension held within Lion's Mane, the temple, her crash spaceship, and her secret armory itself, we know for a fact that Rose Quartz wasn't forced to stop his laser light cannon here because she was running out of storage space or something. Because of all of these various factors, we have to zero in on the reality that Rose Quartz chose to keep this laser light cannon inside of Greg's garage in hopes that Steven would eventually find it one day without her ever telling him about it. Or Rose Quartz wasn't the one who decided to store this laser light cannon inside of Greg's garage to begin with, which unfortunately makes the most sense.
Rose's secret armory.
The gems told me not to get involved with magic stuff.
The light cannon!
You wanna know some other unexplained items that was revealed to have been stored inside of Greg's garage? A portable cat cage and a few of his humanoid cat paintings.
Whoa! Seriously, when did you even have a cat?
During the season 1 episode titled Maximum Capacity, Greg and Amethyst started hanging out. Pearl would soon explain that Greg and Amethyst would spend a ton of time together in the past, watching a show called Little Butler, before Rose Quartz came between them. During the episode, Steven would bring attention to Greg's portable cat cage, something that is really random, isn't it? I mean, it could have been included in as a joke, but at the same time, that doesn't change the fact that Steven was right in this scene. He confronts Greg and rhetorically asks him the question, when did you even have a cat? It's still a valid question. At this point, we've definitely seen Greg during all of the most important stages of his life in Beat City. Cats typically have a lifespan of 12 to 18 years, so either Greg bought a portable cat cage with the plans of eventually getting a cat but never did, or he had a cat after deciding to settle down in Beat City and morbidly forgot to feed it.
Star Child!
Who's there?
Seriously, when did you even have a cat?
We've been over every piece of evidence in detail. Now it's finally time for us to bring the Cookie Cat conspiracy together. There's only one person who could have done it all, besides Rose Quartz, who we've effectively cleared of most suspicion. There's only one other suspect who would have had both a motive to plant a laser light cannon inside of Greg's garage and the access to get it inside of his garage to begin with. Coincidentally, there's also only one suspect who could have been portrayed within Greg's cat photos, considering the paintings are literally direct portrayals of a human-sized cat. We know for a fact that Steven developed his own cookie cat recipe by the end of the series. Of course, his cookie cats were imperfect, but that was only because this batch was homemade. We also know that Steven is passionate about making cookie cats. It's one of a few other things that Steven actually loves doing besides helping people. By the end of Steven Universe Future, Steven was ready to go out and explore the world just like his father. What if Steven found a way to go back in time again in order for him to explore the same world that his father got the chance to? We've known for a long time that time travel canonically exists on Steven Universe. The inverted pyramid in Strawberry Battlefield also canonically has Easter eggs and references from both Steven's past and his future. In addition to Pink Diamond, the Cookie Cat theme song also technically tells the story of Steven's life, something that the writers cleverly used to kick off an emotional moment during the finale of the series. In a scenario where Steven travels back in time to live out the rest of his days in peace and becomes the founder of Cookie Cat, how does any of those cat pictures and Cat Stevens foreshadowing fit into this conspiracy theory? Well, what if Steven also took the form of a cat during this time period? Not only would this have heavy narrative significance, but this would also guarantee that nobody would recognize him and give a deeper meaning to the name Cat Steven. If a pink diamond and a pearl equates to a rainbow quartz, then what does an actual rose quartz and a pearl create? It's an extremely interesting question that when solved reveals the answer to another question. A question that every Steven Universe fan who has ever finished the show has deeply pondered about. I've already given my thoughts and theories on what I believed was locked away within Rose Quartz's chest, the true nature of future vision, and a ton of other fascinating unsolved mysteries focused around the show. I'm ready to move forward with this discussion on the true nature of a spacefaring race known as gems, as well as reveal how I believe they originally came to be in the expansive universe. Alright, let's do this one last time. If I were to ask you right now, what are gems? The answer that you'd give by the end of season 1 versus the end of the series would most likely be very different. Here's the shocking truth though, even though the definition of gems as an extraterrestrial species has fundamentally changed over the course of the series, the gems themselves have all remained consistent. Let me explain. During early Steven Universe, gems could have been best described as a mix between technological and magical beings who were each created for one purpose. Common gems like amethysts were made using surface level nutrients from a planet, while rarer gems like sapphires and peridots were made using nutrients found much deeper inside of a planet. Speaking about amethysts, they were huge gems created to be obedient soldiers, except our amethyst being overcooked came out, for lack of a better word, wrong. Basically, our girl amethyst spent a little bit too much time underground being formed, and as a result of this, her base form is smaller than the other amethysts. Here's where things get really interesting. Peridot tells Amethyst that the only reason that she wasn't the size that she was meant to be was because of the fact that she didn't get the chance to meet the other Amethysts in the kindergarten and use them as a reference. This idea that Amethyst could literally just choose to reform as her intended size at any moment is further supported by her rapid form changes during the season 2 episode titled Reformed. The truth is that Amethyst is simply comfortable with her size. She's comfortable with the person that she became over the course of a series, and it would be extremely out of character for her to choose to reform as a typical amethyst. I hope you guys realize that this opens up cans of worms that you really want to keep sealed for a show like this. The idea that gems could adopt the form of any other gem during reforming at will. We've seen Yellow Diamond use her new abilities to scale Garnet up into the power and size of a diamond. We've also seen Garnet shapeshift her hands with ease into a powerful elongated monster. Look, gems being able to permanently change their own size and shape is one thing, but what if I showed you evidence that all gems also possess the ability to choose their own powers as well? We've seen multiple cases of gems losing their powers during moments of stress and self-doubt. Steven loses the ability to heal people and objects using his saliva after Greg tricks him into believing that his powers were gone. Steven has only been able to summon his shield during moments of high pressure until he mastered the ability. Garnet frequently loses the ability to accurately predict the future whenever her abilities are put into question by the other crystal gems. During the Steven Universe movie, Spinel teases Steven about the possibility of losing his powers after hitting him with a rejuvenator. Spinel would have no reason to assume that Steven wasn't already born with mastery over all of his powers. She would have no reference to assume something like that, assuming that Steven was the first gem hybrid that she met, of course, unless all gems only develop more advanced abilities after training. Peridot's development of her ferrokinesis heavily supports this idea. She didn't have any powers because Homo simply told her that she didn't have any powers. We've seen the diamonds themselves train and unlock brand new abilities out of thin air, and all they had to do was change their mindset. Pink Diamond shapeshifted into a rose quartz, and she believed that she was a rose quartz, which allowed her to maintain her form indefinitely. Steven wanted to grow up alongside Connie, and this wish, this goal, allowed his body to change. Pearl has very suspiciously admitted that she saw Pink Diamond as an authentic rose quartz herself. Because of this, I can almost guarantee that if Pearl fused with another rose quartz, they'd still make a similar size and powered rainbow quartz. This goes for rose quartz's other fusions as well. Garnet and Amethyst also believed that they were fusing with an authentic rose quartz, and so they actually did. If all of this evidence seems overwhelming to you, don't worry. It's about time that we finally uncovered the truth. It's about time that we reveal how gems were really made. Gems appear to be nothing more than magical rocks in the most literal sense, no technological parts included. We've seen the shards of fallen gems plenty of times. We know for a fact that gems don't have any advanced components inside of them. We've also never seen a gem run out of power. In fact, gems in general appear to possess unlimited power. The only real difference that we've ever seen alternate between gems is the power output. The only reason that the diamonds are the strongest gems on Homeworld are because they literally have the biggest gemstones. The only reason that gems pop out of the ground already knowing what they were meant to look like was because they typically emerged in the presence of other like-minded gems. This idea of gems all having the potential to manifest and lose powers based only on their feelings would explain why Pink Pearl faced a pink diamond plagued with anger issues and harmful powers, and our Pearl faced a hopeful pink diamond with the abilities to heal other life forms and grow organic life. Weirdly enough, this also explains why all gems besides Steven are female. The first known gem was female, and as a result, every other gem that followed in their footsteps adopted the same sex. We can call gems holograms all day, but that doesn't change the fact that their bodies are 100% real. Rose Quartz successfully conceived a son, Amethyst has confirmed that she's able to fully digest food, and gems are able to produce bodily fluids. Because of all of this evidence, I believe that gems are strictly magical creatures who came to exist out of the universe itself. We've actually already been subtly shown the origin of Pink Diamond. She was mined from a magical meteorite without any technological programming. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you've enjoyed the video and let me know if you agree with the points I've made down in the comment section. Take care.